thank you very much. We're going to start the second half of this morning, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague Jocelyn, who's going to introduce the speakers. We aim to finish this session by 12:30, and we'll be travelling to another place for lunch. So we'll be going by coach at 12:30 to another venue, so we need to keep to time. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Jocelyn.
Hi, good afternoon everybody. We're on the last stretch now. My name is Jocelyn and I manage the Council's apprenticeship placement scheme. I hope you've had as informative a time for the last few days as I have had. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to wish you a safe journey for those of you when you go home. But hopefully that we'll all have a good time this evening, relaxing over a nice meal. We've got two speakers for you from our social services department, and the topics they're going to talk on is about inclusion. And I know some of you here are looking at areas of employment where people may be disadvantaged for whatever reason. The first speaker we have for you is Inete, and I'll leave her to start.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Inete, and I am Transition Development Manager. I work for Joint Service for Disabled Children and Adult Services, and my role is to develop transition pathway for disabled young people in Enfield. As you heard many presentations this morning, most of them focus about the work that we're doing for young people in Enfield in terms of promoting employment, training and volunteering opportunities. I'm going to talk very briefly about what kind of things we're doing for people with disabilities in Enfield, because we strongly believe that all young people, including disabled, should have the same opportunities to access employment, volunteering and training. So how do we do it in Enfield? First of all, we start by raising aspirations. As I said, we all have hopes and dreams for our future, and disabled young people are no different. We strongly believe that we all, including disabled young people, should have an opportunity to look forward to their future, have fulfilling relationships, employment, good health, and opportunities to live independently. So what we do is we start by engaging them in year 9 transition reviews. That is when they at the age of 14. And these transition reviews enable young people, their parents, carers, and professionals who are involved in their support to really kind of think about those whole life outcomes that I mentioned before. And that includes employment, that includes good health, and training, and employment, and all the other things that we see. As those transition reviews, we actually provide information about what kind of support is available for those young people in Enfield. And Shirley Anne, who leads Equals team, is going to talk a little bit more in terms of what projects we develop that support those young people to consider employment opportunities for them. We also use this as an opportunity to share examples of good practice, because we know that parents, carers, by hearing case studies of young people who already went through transition and ended up in a very good employment that they really enjoyed, that can be really powerful and can encourage people to consider employment if they had some reservations about considering that before. We also, by actually raising those aspirations early, and by starting planning early, we also recognize that we have to prioritize employment opportunities at the strategic level. So we do a lot of work in terms of working with our partners, schools, voluntary organizations, to make sure that employment is always on our strategic agenda. So with this in mind, a couple of years ago, we set up a transition pathway to employment group, which is a steering group that looks at kind of analyzing the local provision and identifying the gaps in terms of what is out there specifically for disabled young people, what kind of organizations can support them to access employment. We also wanted to develop an accessible pathway, so when young people and their parents, carers are considering employment or thinking about employment as an option, they would know exactly which path to take. And we also recognize those pathways are very different for people with learning disabilities or physical disabilities. That's why we wanted to really kind of have this outlined on a piece of paper. I mentioned before, we actually use a group of professionals to really kind of analyze the gaps and produce information about various employment pathways available in Enfield. We also wanted, as a group, to create more opportunities, as I mentioned, and to make sure that employment for disabled young people is on the planning. So what we've done so far, we developed our transition pathway, and we now have this readily available for parents, carers, and young people, and as I said, professionals who are supporting people through transition. We also organize and keep organizing a number of different transition information events for parents, carers, talking to them about what kind of support is available. We also developed a number of different partnerships with voluntary sector organizations and statutory organizations that would enable those young people to actually seek sustainable employment. And we work with schools, as I said, to really kind of raise aspirations from a very early age, because we strongly believe that employment is one of the key outcomes for disabled young people. And now we'll hand over to Shirley Anne, who's going to talk about different projects and different initiatives that we developed in Enfield as kind of part of this group.
Thank you, Inete, for introducing what we're doing on a strategic level and what we have done with the schools. My name is Shirley Anne Wheeler. I am an occupational therapist by profession and have ended up working with the local authority with the lead for adults with learning disabilities into paid employment. I'd like to start off with a document that has just been released nationally to support all young people and to help families and parent carers to actually break through the myths that young disabled people can't work. And there are some really good case studies there, and young people who've got quite complex disabilities in having 2-3 jobs. And this is very much an inspiration, and hopefully we can circulate the slides with the links on that. Enfield Social Services does create lots of opportunities to develop people in their employment skills who have complex needs and that meet the criteria for social services to be working with them. They support people who live in Enfield who have physical, mental or learning disabilities. These people are the people that are furthest from the labour market. And if we can work with them and get them into employment, it means savings for national and local governments. We work in partnership with local and national organisations, preparing them with work-related training, providing the skills that they need to do the jobs that they want to do. I find that there's no point in trying to persuade somebody to go into a job if they don't want to work and if they don't want to do the job that they're being put forward to. It's got to be that individual who has the motivation to want to work. I start off with that. Do you want to work? Do you yourself want to make the effort to make a change in your life to get into the job? From that we use a person-centred approach, and throughout all our services we look at the individual, find out what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and progress them from education. We're putting in a new single assessment plan that will go from 0 to 25, that encompasses, as Inete said, employment, training, education, health, housing, leisure, so that everybody has a plan to take them through children's services into adult services and beyond. We use personalisation. People are assessed for their need, and they may well get a personal budget to be able to fulfil their goals, and then being able to choose what support they have and where they purchase that support from to meet their needs. So in employment, it means that individual has the right to be able to employ their own employment advisor and support worker to help in employment. You know, quite often we look at support workers in relation to housing and help at home, independent living skills, but why not help in employment as well? So using your personal budget to do employment. Now I'm being given 1 minute and I've got so much to tell you. Lily is from the Care Management Service. She went through schooling, she had profound hearing difficulties. She didn't get the support that she needed when she was younger. Through her personalisation and her support, she's now working on HMS Belfast with a support worker, and I think you will, those of you that are walking will be going past that this afternoon. She does tours round the ship. My service is working with people with learning disabilities, making sure that people have paid employment, but also a valued worker role. Not everybody wants to do paid, so it is also voluntary. I've both got health staff and social services staff, so people have got health needs, difficulties with behaviour, physical disabilities, I can work with that as well. And last year, I got 151 people into or maintained in employment. That is what my service gets measured on, which is quite a good statistic, I think. We talked earlier about transition from school into adulthood. So we do job groups into the special schools. And one of the groups, there were 6 out of 7 of the students that said, yeah, I might want to work. 5 have done a valued worker role with leafleting and washing cars at the day service. And others went into childcare, and the council run a play scheme, and they do the training in relation to this play scheme. So some of our guys have actually been on that and successfully gone into after-school clubs, being childminders. We're in partnership with CTEC, with a car wash project. There's a national company for Future Clean. They provide 6 months paid employment, 21 hours a week, and progression into employment with that. We have a social enterprise that we've linked up with the council so that people can be employed to interview their staff that they're working with, training as facilitators on courses, consultants for planning the service that we need to provide. Partnership boards, expert patients, and I think I said yesterday we have paid mentors of year support workers. Social enterprise, we have developed a photo route. If you need to get from A to B, we've got guys trained that can go out and take pictures and do route planning that's on your phone app. Somebody that can't read very well can actually follow this specific route. Perhaps, you know, if we'd known a couple of months in advance, we would have been able to do the route this afternoon on the phone, on the apps. Gifts to friends, we have pulled together 4 people with craft enterprises, should be here this afternoon. They do balloon art, jewellery making, card making, photography. They've all got their own interests, but they have pulled their monies. They've got local grant money to get a support worker. To make sure that they can then support their purchasing, their marketing, insurance aspect. They will be around this afternoon at Unity Park. Self-employment, 14% of the British population would like to be self-employed, and some of those people are learning disabilities. Jonathan and Michael will both be there this afternoon to talk about their businesses.
Thank you. Shirley and Inete will be around on the panel later, so you will have the opportunity to ask questions and to maybe get some of the information that they weren't able to share in their short presentation. Can I ask Henrietta, Daniel and Pierre to come to the front, please? They're from the Prince's Trust, and they're going to talk to you about their organisation, and Pierre's going to talk to you about his experience.
Hello, I'm Henrietta Catherine. I'm Partnerships Manager at the Prince's Trust. I'm going to speak for a couple of minutes and then hand over to Daniel and Pierre. The Prince's Trust is a UK-wide charity working with young people aged 13 to 16 who are at risk of exclusion from school, and those 16 to 30 who are unemployed. And we prioritise working with young people who are offenders or ex-offenders, those who've been in care, and those for whom the school system has not really served them, for whom they don't have qualifications. We worked with 58,000 young people last year, and we supported them on a journey towards employment or self-employment. Our enterprise programme is one of our key programmes. We worked with about 10,000 young people across the country on that programme last year. We are funded by a range of sources to deliver our enterprise programme. So, for example, in London we have corporate sponsors and funders. For example, the Royal Bank of Scotland is one of our key supporters. And also the example here in Enfield and the neighbouring borough of Haringey have funded us to work with 120 young people over a couple of years on our enterprise programme. So it's an example of different ways we get funded. So I'll hand over to Daniel.
My name's Daniel Cunningham. I work for the Prince's Trust. My job role is a programme executive, and that's really just working with young people through their business plan stages. I'll tell you a little bit about what the programme is. So we work with self-employment young people from 18 to 30 that have got their own business idea and want to go into business, and we help them in various different ways. We have a mandatory 4-day course that they have to attend. It's an intense course, and throughout the 4 days we are going over various different things in business, selling, financials, business planning, etc. We have mentors. The young people get a mentor for 2 years after launching their business to help them through the sort of stages at the start of the business, etc. And we also have mentors that help in the beginning of their process also. What the programme executive does is we work with the young people through their business plan stages to get them to the end of their business plan, which then go on to get funding or a mentor only. The Prince's Trust give loans of £4,000 to young people through start-up loans, and mentor only also if they wish to not take the funding. Mentor is free, they don't pay anything to get the mentor. If they took the loan, they would have to pay back the loan with a small part of interest from the start-up loan, which you've been listening to today. I've been through the Prince's Trust programme around 7 years ago. I was a little bit different than it is now, and I launched a business which I sold about 3 years ago because I was having a daughter and wanted to spend the sort of time of her first life, and luckily got to work for the Prince's Trust, which is probably the next best thing to running my business. And one thing that I took out of it was the mentoring. It is great. We've got specialist mentors that help the young people if they've got sort of a niche market, they need to speak to someone and they sort of really need some support in information or what they can do, some advice, so we help with that. We have specialist workshops, so they go to workshops like SEO, legal workshops, how to run a successful online business. We've got loads of these workshops across the country. London, Pierre is one of the young people that I helped. He lives in Enfield and he started a business. We have businesses ranging from fashion, security, floristry, sort of the food industry. So the programme is massive. If the young people decide they don't want to go into self-employment anymore, we do have something in place for these young people. We have something called a progression mentor. So the young person will say, actually, this is not for me, and this could be any stage of the programme. And we give them something called a progression mentor that helps them get into education, employment or training, depending on what they want to go into after the self-employment. what the Prince's Trust are sort of trying to do is to try and get an out-of-company-owned person, whether it's self-employment or employment. And we have other programs around this as well for a younger age group. But if they're over the age of that, they will help them try and look elsewhere from the Prince's Trust. But instead of me boring you with anything else in the Prince's Trust, I'll hand over to Pierre, who has been through our program, and let me tell his story.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Yes, good. Hi, I'm Pierre. My name is Pierre Remy. I am a managing director of a security company called Secure On Site. That's basically what we look like if you can see us, our handsome out there. Yeah, basically I live in Enfield. Actually, I live just across, literally the big road called the New Road. I live just across over there. Bit of background about myself. I started security about 7 years ago for actually a company that's based in Enfield called Jocelyn of Enfield Security. I progressed through the channels. I started when I was 17, I'm 25 now. So I progressed through that, and then I decided I was going to start doing bodyguarding. So now I also have a bodyguard, and I look after various clients such as WWE Wrestling. I go on tour with them twice a year. People like Taylor Swift and other people, I won't bore you with that. And then what I've done is basically I decided afterwards, I was like, you know, I don't really like working for no one, so I thought I need to set my own business, set my own security company. I didn't like the fact that someone else has got you basically, trapped or whatever. So I just wanted to get out of it. And then I decided to myself, me and my business partner, we went to school together from primary school. And I said to him, look, do you want to set up a security company? I had about 7 years experience. He had about 3 years experience. And then we decided, you know what, we're going to go for it. Set up the business, and we went to the Prince's Trust. And the good thing is about Prince's Trust, I thought I knew a bit about business. I thought I knew, all aspects about it, finance and cash flow and all sorts of stuff, but I didn't. So when I went to the Prince's Trust, the 4-day course, it showed me everything. It was interesting to the point where, as soon as we left, we started working on our business plan. And the good thing about it is that we started trading pretty much there and then. So as we got through the Prince's Trust, I had a big contract come up in central London. I was supplying tent security every Friday and Saturdays to a nightclub. Had it for about 4 or 5 months. We managed to turn over about 30 grand in that time. So as we actually went to panel for the Prince's Trust, we actually didn't need a loan. We could self-fund ourselves. So we actually just went to them for a mentor. As soon as we left, we got a next step mentor, great woman, very, very successful in business, and now we have a director of Vodafone who's currently our business mentor. A bit about our company quickly, we got all different services, so we supply security to buildings, pubs, clubs, bars, train stations. We do front of house services such as concierge services and stuff like that. Recently we've just become now a training provider, so now I train people to get their actual SI license. Charities that I now work with, Prince's Trust, and also work with Genesis Housing to help their regeneration projects to actually get people to get a security license. And then obviously we can offer them a job as well if they meet the requirements. So everyone thinks, security, you've got to be a big person, but in fact it's not the truth. Unemployed people, the security course is one of the easiest courses that you can do. It's a 4-day course, doesn't cost too much, and you can get work almost straight away. So that's what basically I'm trying to do at the moment, is train people up and then actually give them an interview and then actually give them job training, and then if they meet the requirements, I will then put them into work. Recently my cousin and my colleague's brother, they went to the Prince's Trust to start up the training side of our company, and they also went through the same process we done. So it's almost like 2 separate companies. So we got the actual recruiting and putting people into work side of it, and we also have now the training side of it. So we're looking to now try and tackle some unemployment in our local areas. I'm from Enfield, and I know quite a lot of young people that ain't in work. I actually employ at the moment, I'll say about 4 people from the Enfield borough who work for me every weekend at a few of my pub contracts that I have in and around London. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. The panel, Pierre, Inete and Danny will be available as part of the panel in a few moments. I'd like to invite Helen Price, who's going to take over as chair. And if you all take a seat. and the floor will be open for
You all
questions.
met the panel speakers here in their presentations. Can I ask if we have any questions that you'd like them to answer? The lady. If you can wait for the microphone.
Hello, my name is Susanna. I'm from Hungary, from a regional development agency, and I was listening to your short presentation from Princess Trust. And according to Clio's presentation, I would like to get to know how did you find Princess Trust? So it's cool what you have mentioned, that they give you not only loans for startups, but also mentoring. But how did you find them?
The mentors, they're exceptional because they're not just, I'll be honest with you, when I first started business, I had a lot of people coaching me about business who have never run a business. Now, that's no disrespect to them. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a kind of person, if you're going to coach me, I want to kind of see your track record and what you've done. If you haven't done anything, then it's a bit hard for me to say, well, okay, I'll still take your advice on board. But the Princess Trust, you know, they got people, you know, our next step mentor, I think she turns over something like £8 million a year. So she's been in business about 7 years. And the difference is my business, because it's a service business, it's not a product that I can actually say to you, here's a product, it's on the shelf. If you like it, you pick it up. If you've got a service, it's very limited to a certain, you know, not a lot of people need security or want security. So it's a very niche kind of service. You know, it's not available to everyone. It's available to everyone, but not everyone uses it. So yeah, so they provided me with a person. She actually trained people. She trains businesses and gives them training programs, and she was very helpful. And now that when we moved on from her, we've got another mentor coming, and again, he's a brilliant guy. He's one of the directors of Vodafone. Sat us down, showed us about our business plan, gave us some real key tips that, you know, spoke to us on a personal level. You know, he can kind of, you know, empathize with us and, you know, kind of guides us when we're kind of straight. He comes back and he says, look, boys, what's going on? This ain't done, this ain't done. I mean, you know, basically, you know, it's good. Princess Trust really, I can say, has been a massive help. They have really helped, reached out to us, basically.
Can I ask Henrietta if you could just comment for us on how you promote the Princess Trust so that people find out about it?
Did you want to say, how did you find out about it, Pierre?
How I found out about Princess Trust, my business partner actually, I don't know how he got in touch with them, but I think he'd seen the program. I don't know if it was advertised in a magazine or something, and he was like to me, well, you know, he's actually heard about the Princess Trust before, and he said, you know what, let's just go for it. And, you know, they've got a big reputation within the UK. You can see like they've got posters everywhere, bus stops and all over the place. So, you know, it's easy for you to see away at the bus and it just says, look, entrepreneurial programs, and that's it really.
So, yeah, we have some quite big, high-profile marketing campaigns, but we also have a dedicated team, an outreach team, and particularly, say, for example, if a borough like Enfield has funded us for delivery, then some of our outreach staff will come and they will link up with local organisations and talk to them, talk to youth sector organisations about what we do. We also employ what we call job ambassadors, and they're young people who've been through a Princess Trust programme, not necessarily the enterprise programme, but one of our programmes, and we employ them to work as part of our outreach team, and they go and talk to young people in all sorts of different youth settings about the Princess Trust and our website.
The lady here, please.
Voy a hablar en español, podéis poner los casos.
Okay. The lady has said that she's going to speak in Spanish, and if you put your headphones on, then you'll be able to hear the translation. Which channel is it? One. Okay.
Buenos días, soy Maribel, la coordinadora del grupo local de Avilés de España. Y quería preguntar a las primeras personas que han intervenido, que trabajan con las personas con discapacidad o enfermedad mental.
Has everybody got the channel, number 1? And everybody? Okay. Is there anybody who can't hear?
Okay.
Okay. Can you say that again, please?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Tengo dos preguntas. La primera se refiere a qué trabajo, si se hace algún trabajo con las empresas para facilitar la inclusión de las personas con discapacidad o enfermedad mental o pocas habilidades sociales. Porque por la presentación más parecía que se intenta fomentar un mercado paralelo de segundo nivel para personas con discapacidad. Quizás hay que hacer un trabajo para que la sociedad entienda que tenemos personas con distintas características y cada una tiene que encontrar el espacio allí donde vivimos. Y luego me interesaría mucho saber cómo convencéis a los mentores para que participen en el proyecto y por qué participan.
Okay, thank you. The first question will be directed to Shirley Anne, if that's okay. And everybody got the question? Which is, how do you work with local minors?
Case studies that I actually used were probably my hard-to-place people within the workplace. I have, probably of those 151 that we got into the workplace, 50% of those are in generic jobs working with employers across Enfield and beyond. So we would look at an individual, look at what their needs are, their abilities and what support they need. We produce a support me document which is very person-centred, that if I have mental health problems or physical disabilities or behaviour problems, it's how we can then talk to the employer and say to the employer, this is how this individual needs to be supported to make this workplace happen and to decrease any triggers or problems in the workplace. We try very hard to match people with their own skills and what the employer is offering so that it is a successful placement. Very much we work on a one-to-one, we find out the individual, we try to find an employer that would employ that individual, support them and make the most of that progression.
Can I ask you just to clarify, Shirley Anne, what the key challenges are when you are making those connections with local employers? That might be a problem.
I think key challenges would be in respect of disability discrimination. Not all employers actually want somebody in the workplace that's got a disability. They don't see their advantages. The people that we work with, we work very hard to actually sell good points and be able to market the person. I support anybody that has that will to work, and we'll try whichever means possible to work with that employer. There are also, within the economy, it is very difficult to actually say to an employer, I can provide you somebody that can start tomorrow and be up and running. Which is why potentially some of our current projects might be in the supported employment or the self-employment, because companies today need to be making money, need to have staff that can go in straight away and make a difference. A lot of people with disabilities do need time to learn the role, to be able to communicate with the staff, build up relationships and be up to productivity, the level of productivity that people want.
Okay, can I answer your question? The first part of your question. So the second part of your question, can I ask somebody from the Prince's Trust to pick that one up about the mentors and how do you engage, secure their engagement?
So there's many ways the mentors would come to the Prince's Trust. We have mentors walking in and asking to support our young businesses. and we've also got something called Young Ambassador that you can do after you've been through the program. And a Young Ambassador has been through a Apprentice Trust program, and then they go out and they're sort of speaking to, it could be mentors, it could be someone that funds the Apprentice Trust, but they would also meet the mentor at the start to say their journey as the mentor will go through training with the Apprentice Trust. So they would talk about their story to the mentors that are going to mentor businesses or otherwise, because we don't just have business mentors, we have progression mentors and next step mentors which work with the young people at the start of their business. Because the trust has been going for so long, so the enterprise program has been running for just over 30 years now. So we do get a lot of mentors coming to us and knocking on our door. Every mentor that comes to the trust is a volunteer, and they are there to support the young people and want to support the young people.
Thank you. I'd just like to add to that. I'm a mentor, business mentor, for a programme that you heard spoken about this morning called Startup London, mentoring young people who are accessing funds through that programme. And the key thing for me in being engaged as a volunteer mentor was in only committing to a small amount of, relative small amount of time. It's very easy to overcommit. And if you're going to keep mentors on board, it's got to be a manageable commitment. And you need a very clear agreement about what the role of the mentor is and the distinction between that and a coach. And that's quite important. And for me, that's why I'm still engaged, because it's not taken over my life, because I don't have those resources available. Okay, and next question. The gentleman
Hello, my name is Mathias Volgegesang from the Economic Development Agency from Kaiserslautern in Germany. We have got a similar project. It's called the Ehrenamtliche Arbeitsmarktmentoren. So we have also experience in volunteering and the connection between volunteering and labor market. For us it is sometimes a challenge to find enough mentees, not mentors. We have always enough mentors. This is one of the questions. Is it similar here in the UK? And the other question, does the Princess Trust support the relations between the mentors?
Okay, so somebody like to answer that question?
Yeah, so about the mentors, the relationship between the mentors.
Yeah, your question was that do we have the same problem in the UK around not having enough mentees for mentors?
And the second question was, does the Princess Trust support the relations between the mentors? Are there regular meetings between the mentors and...
So to answer your question about finding mentees for the mentors, not in London that I know of. We've got quite a lot of young people coming to us, and we're probably trying to find more mentors for the young people, which they do. Our volunteers team do very well in getting a mentor for each young person that goes through business for the next 2 years. And in the initial stage, so the starting of their time with the mentor, so a next step mentor, exploring the idea, they work with them for about 3 months. They meet at least once a month. So the Princess Trust have sort of rules set out for mentors that they want them to comply by. They will meet at least once a month, and they will speak via phone or email or text throughout the month. If the young person needs to get in contact with them, they are normally happy for that to happen. And the same with the business mentor, for the first year, they need to meet at least once a month. And there's someone called a VC, so they also are volunteers, but they look after a batch of mentors, so business mentors, and they are the ones that keep the relationship between the Princess Trust and the mentor and make sure the mentee's happy, because the program executive will be working with another batch of young people, and then another batch of next step mentors. So there is someone always heading up the mentors and making sure the relationship's okay. We always tell the young people, if you're not getting on with your mentor, you need to come back to us, you need to tell us so we can sort that out, because it's not going to benefit you if you're not getting on with your mentor.
Thank you.
question about relationships between mentors?
Also, yes.
So as Daniel says, we have volunteer coordinators who are paid members of staff who first they train, so the mentors come for group training, and I think they meet occasionally for increased training. But I think it's a bit up to them how much they want to network between each other. But they have a minimum amount of training that they need to do to continue to be a volunteer mentor.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Maribel. I came from Portugal, and I represent the managing authority for the central region of Portugal. And I would like to ask if there are any special incentive for companies that employ disabled people at tax level or other type.
I think the people that would be able to answer that question were on the first panel. I actually have very difficult time accessing extra funding to support the employers. The employers that I have engaged have actually done it off their own backs, and they're willing to give something back to the community. They have an ethos that they're willing to work with disabilities, and actually the incentive, money incentive, doesn't really matter. It's a start-up. You know, if somebody's going to get into a permanent paid post, that money's not going to be there forever. We historically have had employers employing people on sort of start-up costs, but where it comes to actually we're going to make this person part of the establishment in the company, when the money goes, that hasn't happened. They haven't been made full members of staff into employment. So by being honest with the employer at the beginning, looking at the vacancies, applying with everybody else, but actually saying, can you make this accessible for this individual? You know, you will benefit as a company by having this individual as part of your company. A lot of the soft benefits that you will gain and satisfy that you're giving back to the community. I think outreach is having that little bit of money as an incentive.
Thank you, Miskinyte. I think from my own experience in the work that I do with Leslie Ann and the organisations that support people with learning difficulties and disabilities and general disabilities and mental health issues, there are incentives around. I've just looked around the room and there's nobody from JCP or Visual EP here, but I don't know that Des is aware. Are you aware, Despina, of any incentives around? No, okay. So it's maybe a question that we can just look into and add into the conference notes. But the fact of the matter is it's a very competitive market, and if you're not engaging with potential employers on a very personal, human level, then individuals can become statistics, and that's a very real issue. Absolutely. Okay, another question, please. I saw another hand, lady at the back here.
I have a question for Pierre. On the previous panel, we talked about self-employment or versus companies that develop and become employers. How did you see yourself when you started your own company? Did you see yourself as a self-employed person? And apparently now you employ people. So did you see that from the start, or did it become obvious for you later?
Well, in a way, I still am self-employed in a certain extent, because what we like to do, where the business is growing, me and my business partner, we actually don't fund ourselves through the business. We keep everything within the business. We're at the point where we actually could, but we still don't. When we get to a certain point, we've got a plan, and then we can, then comfortably we can start, paying ourselves and stuff like that. But at the beginning, we it wasn't really a get-rich-quick scheme, because we didn't really, we want to get to that point where we can start funding ourselves. But sometimes being employed is better than being being self-employed. You know, even when I was working for someone, I had more security. I knew what was coming in every month. I was in a routine, you know, and actually starting up a business is actually so out of the box. It's different because my whole life has now changed because due to I have a business. But at the beginning, no, it wasn't that clear. We never actually thought we hoped, but we never actually knew whether we was going to get to that point. And now we are starting to near the point where, you know, we can start looking after ourselves.
And do you think one day you will employ other people?
Yeah, well, at the moment I had 16 people working for me last weekend. So on my actual books, we have about 30 people on our books, but we don't have a lot of weekday work. All of our work is mainly weekend work. So yeah, we do employ people. Last year when we had a big contract in central London, we was employing people for like 4 days a week, and that was a really good thing. But what I learned from that is if you focus all your resources on one contract and you don't look for others, then you're going to be in problems. That nearly became a problem for us. We nearly went down, but then we just had to come back up again.
I just wanted to see if Henrietta got an observation on this as to what you're talking about is change management, is the fact that people go from self-employment, one-man band to maybe employing 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 people, and that is a big change for an organisation or an individual. Does the Prince's Trust provide, is that part of your progression pathway, or Daniel?
Yeah. So we, going through the programme, we are quite realistic with the young people that it's going to be harder than the employment, and we then tell them we've got help to help them into employment. But yes, over the time with the mentors and the programme execs at work, we try and show the young people that they need to take their time, not rush into things. They need to pace themselves and not put in too much money and then lose the money. We only give £4,000 loans out so the young person don't get into major debt, and we will work with them in the repayment schedules. So there is help, and the structure of the 4-day course is to show people that business is going to be hard, and that you're going to need to be prepared for that journey.
Also, when you actually go on the course, I mean, Danny and Dave, they actually tried to put us off of having a business. So when we first came in, they said, look, everyone, we're going to, our aim is to actually make you want to go out and actually get a job. And I was sitting there thinking, I don't know if this is going to be a difficult one, but obviously once you go through the course, you go through the process, and obviously you have a bit of self-belief that you actually can do the job, then it's just a matter of time, basically.
So in terms of that kind of question about self-employment and transition into business and employing people, I have to say I don't know, I can't actually say exactly, I don't know what our experiences of that. We're predominantly supporting young people at an early stage into kind of start-up, but we're not doing so much of that growth afterwards. So maybe something we can bring back some information on. I'm afraid I can't answer that.
Thank you. Leslie, Shirley Anne, I apologise if you're right to comment.
And just on the note of being sort of self-employed, it's become increasingly aware that when people are setting up their self-employment, they don't include their own wage as part of their company. So when they're doing their business plan, they work in, I'm going to work for free, I'm going to sell my goods or my services, but I'm going to plough that money back into the company. Where's your money for living, for paying your rent, for buying your food? So when people are setting up in self-employment, they need to allow their own wage to pay their living way to come off the benefits and being able to progress.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's one of the reasons I was saying that I still have self-employment due to, that's why I said I do bodyguard work, so I still, unfortunately, I wouldn't say I work for companies, I still am self-employed to about 4 big close protection organisations, so I still freelance for them while I'm set on the business. Obviously, once the business does become to that certain point, then I'll fall back from working with certain organisations and just start doing it myself.
Presumably, if we've got any celebrities or minor celebrities in the room, you can do some business with the Do we have any more questions that we can take? Derek at the back, please.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Derek Wheeler. I work for an organisation called Urban Futures, and I also run the Education Business Partnership in Haringey. It's an observation on a statement. I'm very lucky. I travel considerably. Whenever I turn up in any place in the world, I'm asked two questions. The first is, which Premiership football team do I support? And the second one is asked about the royal family, and always about him, about Harry and William and Kate. What Prince Charles did with this charity is utterly remarkable. He founded it with £20,000 when he left the Navy. Obviously, because of his connections, he's built this up. He's very assiduously used celebrities. He's used big business. It's an organisation that gives tough love. When people go in there to set their business and to try and bid for this £4,000, it's not an easy money of giving the money away. And the other thing that Charles has done, and I can think of one particular young lady who was in prison, in Holloway Prison. She learnt floristry at Capel Manor.
This is a start of customer announcement. The sandwich van is outside reception. Sandwich van is outside reception. Thank you.
Gina learnt floristry at Capel Manor, came back, she taught some of the inmates, she applied for a loan, started her own florist business. She now has a florist business, a jewellery business, and a restaurant in Tottenham. And when the riots took place a few years ago, Charles actually called Gina in to discuss what had happened. And the Prince's Trust, to me, is one of the finest charities this country's ever produced, and we should be immensely proud of it, and proud of Prince Charles for doing it. So, my statement, but well done, the Prince's Trust.
Can I ask, are there any questions that you'd like our panel to answer? Or has anybody got a statement that they'd like to make to contribute toward the discussion? No? If I can just sum up then, this panel discussion, the key things that we need to consider around these issues of providing opportunities for young people are the fact that we work well as networks, where we tap into the resources of peer and neighbouring organisations and maybe areas, boroughs, or however your country and districts are divided up. We need to make sure that our services are as personalised as they can be. One or two questions referred to the individual nature of the challenges that some young people are facing. We need to consider the issues of quality, the fact that we have measures in place to deliver sustainable quality services, and in that I'm referring to the sort of questions around how do the mentors get mentored and supervised. But those principles apply across services that are provided to other people with challenges in our communities, like learning difficulties and disability. Some of the challenges that we face are those around change management and progression. There's been some work done in this country around in-work poverty, and we don't want people to just become young, busy people but with no opportunities to improve their lives because of levels of income. So change management is important, along with encouraging young people to develop their networks, and that's where they are going to be able to gain powers of influencing and helping further generations, their peers and the people that look up to them. Is there anything that any members of our panel would like to say in conclusion? Anna, can I hand over to you? Thank you very much for your input in that discussion, and thanks for having us here.